so I still try to wake up early, and I still try to get a workout in like early in the morning, and then get into. So we don't actually get to go into our office. Like I'm in a room in my house right now, but I just blocked myself off.
Gotcha.
But I'm with the whole time thing blows my mind because it's like I got all the time in the world, but next thing you know, I'll look up, it'll be like 5 or 6 o'clock at night, and I've just been on the computer and on video calls, just
Dang.
going. Because I think you said it. It's people think you got so much time, and you just don't like you don't have the time that you think you do, and so many people hit you up. You just have to go with it. Like you just got that email of like, oh no, do I got to take care of something? When I get off this call, I got to go to another call and then to another call, and it's like, yeah, we're at home, but time is not. It's not like we've got a whole bunch of it because it gets filled pretty quick, and I
Yeah.
can only imagine your side.
Yeah, man. It's like, especially with the new coaching staff. I mean, that's a whole nother, element that we have to deal with, trying to keep in touch with, our 90 something athletes, and making sure that, they're staying focused and on task, especially going to the online class model. That's it's been good. After the guys really learn that system. It that's something that they weren't used to, and that we've been trying to get them used to. Working in tandem with the academic coaches, and a lot of times they do rely on myself and my staff to get in touch with guys when tutors or professors aren't able to get in touch with them, because we do have those relationships with them. So, like you said, people think that just because you're working from home, that just frees up a lot of your time, but it really doesn't. Because now having to manage a team, remotely presents its own difficulties in and of itself. So, especially with respect to the strength staff and our relationships with the guys, and us being able to spend a lot of time with them and build those relationships with them. Like, a lot of people lean on us, when they're looking to communicate with these guys and get in touch with them. So, it's, I mean, it's definitely, a positive in that, we do have those relationships with them, but in terms of a time aspect, everybody reaches out to you when they're looking to, get in touch with them, get a hold of them, and have them, take care of business.
It's kind of like we were talking about when we were in your office that one day. It's that the strength coach gets to touch everybody 365 days a year, and suddenly it seems, and I've talked to a bunch of coaches now, it seems the strength coach is now becoming even more valuable because people are realizing the guy that may have the best relationship with your kids, with your athletes, is the strength coach. So everybody's doing exactly what you're talking about. Is they're reaching out, hey, can you get a hold of so and so? Can you get a hold of so and so? Can you corral them? And it's kind of funny to watch. I don't want to say the tables have turned, but it's almost like there's some realization by some people of, oh, these guys have a whole bunch of influence on what's going on. And I'm hoping for our industry that when we come out of it, it advances us and kind of gives even more credibility to what's going on.
Yeah, and I think it will. Even outside of the relationship aspect of it, because that is a big part of what we do, and not only as strength coaches, but as academic coaches, as sport coaches, anybody with regard to student athletes, health, wellness, academics. They play a huge part in their lives, and during this time, from a relationship standpoint, when they're looking at that, it's like you take a step back and you really assess, like, you know, am I keeping the main thing? We harp on them about, sets, reps, coaches harp on them about technical and tactical things, academic, coaches harp on them about grades. But, like, if you're not building those relationships with these athletes, then, what are you really doing? Because I'm a firm believer that, and as cliche as it is, but they don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. And you got to show these athletes that you care about them, because once you do that, 9 times out of 10, they'll do whatever you ask them to, because they know it's coming from a genuine place. They know it's coming, that you're you're genuinely concerned with their well-being. It's not just, oh, what can you do for me? You know, what can you do for me in terms of us winning games? What can you do for me in terms of, you know, our pass rate, you know, going up, you know, APR, that whole deal. It's like, to them, they just want somebody that genuinely cares about them. And I think throughout this entire process, you know, it is gonna shed light on that. We had a staff meeting this morning, and one of the things our offensive coordinator said was, because the Big 12 is now allowing us a few more hours in terms of coaches having meetings with them through Zoom. But it was like, you know, take a step back from the football side of it. Look at the relationship building side of it. And you know, we're in a unique situation because of a new staff, you know, coming in, and you know, we just haven't had the time to build those relationships with these players. So it's like, use that meeting time for something outside of football. Like, the football will come. You know, that's just one aspect of it. But you know, going back to what I said before, like, these guys need to know that you care about them, because if they don't feel that you do, then you're not gonna get their best effort. You know, so I thought that was very telling, you know, of the times, because coaches and you know, individuals are understanding that it's more about, you know, the relationships. You know, if you can build these quality relationships with your players, you know, that's step one. You know, that's the foundation, and then everything else you can lay on top of that. But if that foundation is rocky and it's not solid, like, you won't have anything to build off of. So, I mean, it's
It's
just
the launch. It's the launching pad for the kid. Because if I'm not, I mean, from our conversations we had, that's what you were talking about with Coach Walker when he was at Georgia and y'all were there. I mean, you felt the relationship, you felt the investment from your coaches, and then that helped launch you kind of go in your direction where you wanted to go, because you had that relationship, and you knew it wasn't about, you know, can you do this for me on the field? Can you do this for me in the classroom? It was more about, you know, how are you doing outside of school? How are you doing outside of all of this? Which just gives you more motivation and more confidence to chase what you want to chase and go be who you want to be.
Yeah, most definitely, man. And that's, you know, as professionals working with the population that we work with, I mean, that's the main thing. You know, at Baylor, we, you know, our mantra is preparing champions for life. And, you know, I'm a big proponent of that, because it's, as much as, you know, we want you to be champions in sport, you know, during your time here. Like, I love when student athletes reach out to me when they leave this place, stay in touch, let me know how they're doing. And, you know, seeing them do well and excel outside of Baylor, just, I mean, that brightens my day. Like, my draft guys, we're in a group chat, and although I don't get to train them, you know, anymore, and you know, they won't be playing for us at Baylor anymore, it's just like, yeah, man, you know, I hated when pro days had to be canceled. You know, I hated when that process for them had to kind of come to a halt. But you know, it just it warms my heart that they still hit me up and you know, want to talk through things. And you know, just a lot of them just hit me up to say like, hey, coach, man, I just want to check on you, see how you doing. And it's like, man, you know, I've never had, you know, athletes do that. And it goes to show that you've had a real impact on the lives of them, for them to care about you once they leave this place. And that feeling is mutual.
Oh no, and I think you and we discussed that a little bit. And there can be no bigger compliment. Yeah, you can coach guys that are Big 12, All American, whatever you want. Like, they can get drafted, go to the league, but to have some guy just check on you in the middle of the coronavirus, hey man, how you doing? And it's some kid that you coached, that you poured everything you had into that kid at some point, and then now as a man, as he's grown, he spins around, he's checking on you. I mean, I'm not sure there's a more rewarding feeling you can get saying that you did a great job as a mentor. And I gotta imagine that's being invaluable for you right now because you were there for years before you were the director. And then now, so you've got a little bit of that relationship built with these kids, and with the new coaching staff coming in, I'm sure, I mean, you already said they're coming down your throat, and they need all the answers and all the meetings and all the everything. They're coming to you saying, asking questions about kids because you've got that relationship built up. How are you, how are you handling this now? I mean, you don't get to touch your kids now. You don't get to be around them as much as you are. How are you able to keep that relationship up? Is it just texting? Is it like, how are you going about that?
And it's not just texting. Texting is a lot of it, but man, if during this time, if that's the only level of communication that you have with your athletes, like you're missing a point. I get on FaceTime with my guys. Like I call my guys. I'm not able to hit everybody every day, but throughout the course of the week, I do that. And my staff, that they're great because how we're set up. Each member on the staff has a certain position group that they work with, and they're in constant text communication and phone call communication with them. And where I'm not able to hit the whole team, every day or more than once a week, they are able to hit their respective position groups. And then I'm more global in a sense. Like I'm checking with guys throughout the week across the board. I don't necessarily, pinpoint myself to a specific position group because I want the guys to know that, hey, just because we are away, just because we're not physically in contact with each other, like I want to know what you're doing. I want to know how classes are going. I want to know how the family's doing. In terms of training, like we're really kind of limited on what we can do in terms of holding those guys accountable. But like I am interested. If you're training, you may not be following the program that we give you, and as much as I want you to, I just want to know if you're doing something so that when we do return to campus, you're not so far behind the curve. And that's not that's not the just the basis of the conversation. That's one point of it. My staff and I, we meet on Zoom Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And something that we talked about yesterday was that, like, in your communication with these guys, don't just talk about training. Ask them what they're doing. Like, what are their hobbies during this time? Because just as they're back home with a lot more time on their hands. Like, what are they doing to fill their time? Get them engaged with you in the group text. Try to learn something about them that you may not have known. Try to build and foster those relationships and make them stronger. Over this time. So that when we do get back, it's like, hey man, we hitting the ground and we running. It's not like we got to start over. And that kind of that brings me to another point, just with the transitioning, into being away for so long and then coming back and returning to training, returning to sport. Like we're trying to do everything in our power as a strength and conditioning staff to set these guys up for success when we do return. Like that's a huge proponent in what we're doing now. And I mean, just from strength and conditioning staffs across the country, as an industry across the board, like we really have to take advantage of this time, because how we handle the return of our athletes is of the utmost importance, and it can dictate some pretty significant changes moving forward. Like this is an opportunity for us to move forward as a profession, in the way that we do things, and how we manage, their returns. Because I mean, we've all seen, the negative effects of poor programming, of poor coaching, and this is a time where everybody around the country is dealing with it, and how individual staffs collectively, as a unit throughout their universities, handle this situation, it's going to be heavily viewed and heavily scrutinized. And, I'm more concerned with their well-being, when we do get them back. Like, put the sport, to the side, put the training to the side, and just really focus on the well-being. Because that's, in my realm, like, I'm dealing with people's sons. I view those individuals as my sons, and I just want to make sure they're safe. Like, a lot of the conversation, as much as it is about training, like, I just want to make sure you're safe. I want to make sure you're healthy. I want to make sure that it's nothing more that I could be doing for you while you're at home. And I also want to make sure that I'm doing enough, so that when you come back, you'll be ready to go.
It's going to be like, you were right. It's that return to play. It's that coming back, and it's worrying about the health of the human and the health of the kid right now. And I love that you view it as a son deal, because you would want, that's what parents are doing. They're turning their son over to a coaching staff. They're turning them over to you, and they're expecting you to take care of them as best as possible. It's going to be interesting to watch the rest of the industry all over the country, how that persists moving forward. Like, once we get our kids back, because right now we're hearing some of the same messages from coaches of pouring into your kids, making sure they're okay. And you mentioned advancing and becoming a better industry and everybody becoming better. Once we do get back, I'm interested to see, does everybody continue to feel your passion? I can see your passion. Are people going to go back to it's all about ball now, or are people going to still be that concerned about the human being? That's just something.
You froze up on me, Coach.
You there, Corey? Did I lose you?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
All right. You back now. You hear me?
Corey, you're breaking up just a little bit. Hold on. I think the internet's trying to catch up. There we go. Now I got you. Now.
All right. Yeah, it might be mine on my end. I don't know.
It's all right. No, but that's gonna be interesting to see once it gets back. Like, everybody's invested in kids right now, as they should be. How people will act once we get back. I mean, you get your kids back, and is it going to be ball again, or are we going to be disinvested in kids, as you should be, as I know you are, globally? Because, like you said, it's an opportunity for us to advance. There's some programming things that can get a lot better, because you can go return to play and communication between strength coach, sport coach. Obviously, if this thing, which right now nobody knows when it's going to end, we're all hoping for the best. We're hoping to be out of this by May or by mid-May. There's a chance we're in the middle of June and we're still doing this stuff, and football season's right around the corner.
Yeah.
And then you're just getting handed a blank slate almost of kids as far as training goes, and you got to get them ready to play a Big 12 schedule in 8 weeks. And so I know you've thought about that. It's going to be interesting to watch from my shoes, from my seat.
Yeah, man, and that's the challenge in it. I think both governing bodies within our profession, they set up a good framework in terms of how to transition from an extended break period, and that's definitely something to follow, because it allows you to safely prepare these kids for what's at hand. And a lot of that, Coach, I think it comes in collaboration with the health and wellness staff as a whole and the sport coaching staff. Like, you mentioned, is the level of communication between the strength staff and the coaching staff and the athletic training staff going to still move forward, as it is now, and I think that it will. During this time, you're forced to have an enhanced level of communication, especially trying to deal with student athletes remotely. So I think I think during this time, coaches see the benefit in that, so that everybody is on the same page, and also just like educating the sport coaches on, what it means to be in a transition period, coming from such an extensive break away from sport, away from structured training, and to safely prepare these kids to handle the demands that are going to be placed on them. So those conversations between everybody in the department has to continue, and we have to be on the same page when we do return. As much as we are working remotely and we are away, and we talked about the time aspect before, time should be put into developing that plan. Something that we're doing at Baylor, and I'm pretty sure many universities across the country are doing it as well. But we have a transition period task force in place, and it's made up of athletic performance coaches from different sports, and health and wellness professionals from the different departments, athletic training, senior level administration, and we're all together trying to formulate this baseline structure, not only with football, but with sports in general. How does this look week 1? How does this look week 2? When you're able to start incorporating some sport specific drills and kind of handing them over to the sport coaches, how does that look? We have to periodize not only what we do from a training standpoint, in sets, reps, exercises, running volume, speed volume, conditioning, but also periodizing those, OTA practice sessions as well. Because just because you delivering back to the coaches, that doesn't mean they can go, full speed in this direction right off the bat. No, it's going to take time. You want to make sure that they're properly prepared to handle the demands that are asked, of them by their coaches. So, like I said, the NSCA and the CSCCA, the guidelines that they put in place, are great starting points and should be followed. But the education, of the coaching staff into the reason and why those guidelines, are put in place is of the utmost importance, so that they understand that it's more about the safe and systematic progression of what we're doing, versus just, oh, I get my hands on them for a practice. Yeah, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. If I have, an hour per session, well, let's break down this hour. How should we approach it? Should it be, indie? Should it be, run throughs? Should it be, 7-on-7s? Like, I'm not a sport coach. I don't know. But from a load perspective, like, I can effectively tell you, what these athletes should be able to handle and when they should be able to handle that, based on how I've programmed, how we as a group program for them during the period that they were away, and then how we program for them in that transition period, once they're back on campus. Because essentially you got to treat it like nobody did anything, when they were away, because you can't hold them, because, with the rules kind of put in place, you can't necessarily hold them accountable. Like, yeah, you can create this perfect plan to send them home with, but, you may have assigned, 8 tempos or 10 sprints. Those guys may not do that, so I can't expect them to have done that, because if one guy had it and then that one guy gets hurt, now that's on me. So it's, as much as you equip them with what they're doing while they're away, when they get back on campus, it's those that have done it, they'll be in a better place. They'll be able to better handle, what's asked of them. And those that hadn't, well, that's the group that you got to cater to. And from an accountability perspective, now my teammates see that. Like, oh, I can tell that you weren't, handling your business during this time because of how it's affecting you when we return. So now that's where, the accountability piece comes in, like, because you don't want to be the guy that when we get back on campus and that when we're able to start training and start having practice, you don't want to be the guy that's holding everybody back. So that's kind of like the accountability factor where we're not able to do it. Those leaders within their position groups are able to do it, and you hope
right.
that.
No, you hope that those leaders are able to hold them accountable. And I like that you talk about you gotta take care of the ones that didn't necessarily do or couldn't do what you asked them to do, because you built that trust with them. Like we talked about at the beginning, you built that trust, you built that relationship with them. They trust that when they get back, they're going to be taken care of and they're going to progress through. But you bring up an interesting point of you're going to find out who your leaders are. Mm-hmm. Like if you don't already know, you're going to find out who your leaders are when you get back, because you're going to see, one, who took care of themselves, and two, who is willing to criticize constructively and lead guys and take guys under their wing and say, hey, I can see that you were behind, or take freshmen that, man, incoming freshmen after this is going to be tough on some of those kids. But you can find out who your leaders are.
Yeah, and what's crazy, like, it is going to be tough on those kids, but at the same time, Coach, they are, and I mean, I can speak for the ones that are coming in, to our program, like, they didn't know what to expect anyway. So it's like in their preparation, it's like, man, I have to be prepared because I don't want to look bad when I come in. Now, with that, obviously send out the programming to the signees as well. So it's similar in fashion to what the vets are doing. Obviously not as intense, but you give them the opportunity to essentially do the same thing that the vets are doing. Like, when you come in the door, I can tell who's trained and who hasn't. I can tell who's utilized this time to their advantage and who hasn't. And you don't want to be that guy in your freshman class, that's holding everybody else back. So, you look at that both ways, but it's been very good during this time in terms of, guys stepping up and being leaders within their position group and on this team. Like, I'm in a group chat with some of the leaders from various position groups, and just to see them interact in our group chat and challenge each other and challenge, the ones in that group to challenge their position groups, man, I mean, it's been amazing, because, with us losing a lot to last season, guys graduating, guys moving on, pursuing careers in the NFL, like that was something that, we were concerned about, just like, the level of leadership on this team. But especially during this time, man, it's been great to see individuals step up, and embrace that role of being a leader within their position groups, and them holding guys accountable to what the standard is, because like that's not going to change. The standard that we have at Baylor isn't going to change. It's that one standard, and you have to uphold it. And to see individuals on that team live by that and push their teammates to live up to that standard, man, it's been amazing. It makes me smile because, it's like, man, it's clicking and they're getting
it. It's awesome that you say that, because when I talk to those other coaches, and whether it be high school, whether it be professional, whether it be college, and I always ask, hey, you've been a lot of places, you've seen ups, you've seen downs, you've seen good and bad. And, what's the thing that kind of transcends and you always see in a successful program, year to year successful program? And the first thing everybody always says is culture. Whether it's high school, and a high school will say, man, they have a culture set Yeah, one high school might get a stud or two studs that come through, and so they have a magical year, and then the next year they're not any good. But those high schools that are good year in, year out, they got a great culture. The colleges that are great year in, year out, I think you and I talked about this last time we were talking. It's just, like you said, it's the expectation that's set. And yes, you lose a lot year to year, and you hope that you lose a lot sometimes because that means you got some great players playing. But then when you see those guys that 365 days ago, you were probably sitting in your chair going, man, I don't know if this guy can lead. And then now here we are 1 year later in probably one of the hardest times to lead, and you're getting text messages on your phone of those guys leading, and they understand the expectation because they saw the success and they saw the guys in front of them and said, well, obviously they did something right. I need to do what they're doing because I want to keep on winning and I want to keep being successful. I mean, that's got to be a huge for you. That's got to put a smile on your face. That's got to make you feel as good as anything.
It does, Coach, because like I'm a firm believer that culture is the number one driver of consistently successful programs, and culture comes from what we do in the weight room. They spend the majority of their time with us throughout the year. So it's good to see that the messaging, that the overall implementation of what we try to instill in those guys is coming to fruition during this time. Like, I want to say, and I may quote it wrong, but Bill Belichick said, talent sets the floor, but culture sets the ceiling, or character sets the ceiling. And, I think they understand that, and I mean, we try to drive that message home to our guys, and it's like now they understand, what we do during this time, because everybody is going through it, can give you an edge on the competition. So you don't want to come back, and when we are able to play football again, when we are suiting up on Saturdays in McLean Stadium, like, you don't want to look back and say, man, those 2 or 3 months that we had away from the program, did we utilize that time to our advantage? Because it's gonna show. Like, that's one thing about it. It is gonna show. It may not show now, but you're not working for now. You're working for when we get back in June, July, whenever that may be. When we start playing football in September, like, that's what you're working towards. So, you have to be able to see the forest, although this tree is right here in front of you. You can't necessarily focus on that. And I think that's one of the things that, the guys are understanding now. It's like, we don't know when this is going to end. We don't know when we'll be able to get back together again. You know what? And as much as it does suck, like, it's okay, because we know the goal that we're working towards as a team. We understand the work that we have to put in to achieve that goal. And just because it's not right there in front of us doesn't mean it isn't going to come. So we got to continue to prepare ourselves to go achieve that goal, because without the work, you're never going to achieve it. It's just going to continue to flee away from you. And, the guys that don't get it and don't understand it, they'll probably sit back and wonder, like, man, why am I not achieving my goals? Like, why am I not attaining this success? But those that understand what it truly takes to achieve these goals, they'll put that time and they'll put that work in now, so that when we do get to September, hopefully playing in NRG Stadium against Ole Miss, it'll pay off for them. So it's the culture that we've instilled in them, but also the culture that they hold themselves accountable to and hold their teammates accountable to. Like, that's the difference in it. Because I can send text messages out to you. I can call you and preach to you about the necessity of training, about the culture, till I'm blue in the face. But until it matters to you and you express that to your teammates, it's not going to hold weight. So it does make me happy to see that the leaders of this team are stepping up, and delivering that message to their teammates and holding each other accountable. And, they understand what it is going to take to be successful down the road. And they're taking those steps towards that right now.
I mean, you talked about, and I was just thinking as you were talking about all that, the training isn't stopping right now. And now the physical training may be slowing down, but the training isn't stopping, because the training, you're talking about leadership training, you're talking about self-discipline training. And I love the quote, you had it right by Belichick, of your talent sets the floor and your character sets the ceiling. And it's why the New England Patriots are good every single year, because he goes and finds the character of the kid. I mean, he says, hey, here's our culture and here's the character that you need to be. And if you don't want to be that, you're not going to be a part of our championship program. And that is going on in your current program and programs across the country. Is what kind of character and what kind of culture are you going to cultivate during this, well, we're 3 weeks into it now, during this 6-week span? Because the physical side, you and I both know, you can get somebody back in shape relatively quick. You can get somebody strong relatively quick. And those skills that every one of those individuals has at their positions, that doesn't go away. They've got those things. It's just a matter of getting back in shape and physically being ready, which is, of all the things that has to do with a team, is probably the easiest one to obtain, is the physical side. It's that mental side, it's that emotional side, it's that tightness, it's that leadership that all can still be trained right now. And that's why it's awesome. I love to hear that the line of, if you're just texting your players, then you're missing the boat. Like, get on the phone, get face to face with them, get a Zoom meeting, get a FaceTime, whatever it is, because that's what it's about. And when you have an emotional connection with somebody, as opposed to just a professional connection or an obligation, you're going to go hundreds times farther, because emotion is hard to break, man.
Mm-hmm. And as much as you go 100 times further, like, they'll do that for you as well. That's the thing about it. Like, they want to know that they mean something to you, and that's where I think, the relationship between myself and my players, like, because, I've been at Baylor now, since 2017, and I've gone through this coaching change, and am in the seat that I'm in now. But one thing about me, and that my guys know, is they're gonna get my best effort. They're gonna get everything that I have to give them all the time. And that's if we're face to face in front of each other, in the weight room. And that's if we have to do it, on FaceTime, over a Zoom conference or whatever that may be. Like, they're gonna get all of me that I have to give, and they appreciate that. So in turn, they give that back. Like, I get engaged with them. Like, when they're in their group chats and they're, challenging teammates to put in the work, to continue to prepare themselves. Like, I get involved in that. I show them what I'm doing. Like, hey, you're not in this alone. We're in this together. And as much as I'm shooting you programs and asking you to put in the work, like, I'm gonna put in the work with you, and I'm gonna show you that I'm doing it. I'm gonna send you clips of me, as slow as I am running sprints, and I'm gonna call you out and say, you're not as fast as me. I'm gonna show you me in my garage, like, doing bodyweight exercises, doing resistance band exercises, because I know that a lot of you guys don't have, certain equipment to train with. So you know what? I'm gonna put myself in that element. I'm gonna show you that just because we don't have a weight room with racks and barbells and bumper plates, like, it doesn't mean you can't train. Like you said, the physical training isn't gonna stop, but I'm gonna show you that I'm willing to participate in that with you. So as I'm preaching at you, the necessity to train, the effects of what it's going to have on you if you don't, I'm showing you as well that I'm going to be in it with you. Because at the end of the day, like, that's the one of the biggest parts of it. Like, one thing that we say at Baylor, in terms of my guys and the strength and conditioning staff and, between the players is we're stronger together, So even during these times of social distancing and these times that we're not physically, able to interact with one another, like, I'm in it with you. We're doing this together. You're not in it by yourself. I'm not asking you to do something that I wouldn't put myself through. So I'm gonna put myself through it as well. And you're gonna see that from me, and you're gonna get that from me. So I expect to get that out of you, and in turn, they expect to get it out of each other. And it's been great. It's been fun, Coach. Getting those guys interacting, getting those guys challenging and pushing each other. And then they challenge and push me. Like, they'll call me out in a heartbeat. Like, hey, Coach, you got 20 minutes. How many rounds can you get in of this circuit? Go. I did this many. What can you get? And, I get involved in it. Like, I love it. I love it because it shows me how much our relationship means, and it's always good to show vulnerability, to the guys. Like, at times, nah, I'm not faster than, my guys, but I'm gonna still go out there and I'm gonna run. At times, like, nah, I might not get as many rounds of a circuit in, but I'm gonna compete. And, I'm gonna compete until I beat you. And then you're gonna compete until you beat me. So it's just it's that level of respect, that we have for one another, and that level of trust and love that we have for one another, because I'm in it with you guys. Like, I don't expect you to do anything that I wouldn't do, and we're all dealing with this situation together. And I think that's, as long as they know they're in it with somebody else and they're not in it alone, we can overcome it.
That's the definition of true leadership, though. It's leading from within, not from the front, not from the back, but you're within, and we're all in this together. And we talked about leadership in a leadership summit yesterday. They turn to you because they know that you can take them where they want to go, but that's also because they can look at you and know that where they want to go is where you've been. And you're able to take that relationship, and you're able to take that love, that compassion, and you're able to fill up your athletes to the point that, we're going to look up in 6 months and you're going to be playing OU, you're going to be playing Texas, whoever it may be. And those guys, they're going to ball out for you. They're going to give everything for you. They're going to give everything for the guy next to them. They're going to because you've got that emotional investment, and you've got those. We used to tell kids when I trained middle school and high school kids, when you create emotional connections is when you create memories and when you create bonds. You don't create bonds through forced interaction or going through, hey, we did 10 sets of whatever. You created this bond because you both shared this emotional interaction together. And we used to tell the young kids, or the middle school kids, like, things that you don't forget is the first time you ever got turned down by a girl. You just got made fun of by a girl. Some girl just made you look stupid. And now you've got that emotional scar, or whatever you want to call it, and you shared it with somebody else. And that's a bond, that's a memory that you now have. And the more and more you have those, the more emotional interactions you have with people around you, the tighter it is. And you said together we're stronger. And that's what Baylor talks about. The more emotional things you go through, the tighter you become and the harder it is to beat you. That's the way that I look at it.
Yeah. And you're right. Like, and we've been through, some emotional times together. Like, I said, when I started back here in 2017, a part of a team, part of a program that went 1-11. We had to endure some hard times. And, now those guys who were freshmen on that team are now the seniors. And throughout that time, like, we have endured hardships, but we've also saw success. And, you know, it's through that, you know, it's through those hard times, it's through, you know, those experiences that we grow and we appreciate the hardships, you know. So now we sit here April 2nd, you know, 2020, like right now it's a time of hardship, you know, that not only we're enduring, but the entire nation is enduring. So how are we going to look at this situation, find the joy in it, you know, find the opportunity in it to get better, so that from this hardship, you know, we'll achieve, you know, that success. We had a staff devotional this morning, and the our director of sports ministry, he spoke from Philippians, and it was, you know, you got Paul who's in prison and he's writing this letter, which is, you know, the book of Philippians, but it just expresses the joy that he has within the hardship that he's going through. So, you know, I look at that, and it was ironic because yesterday, you know, I was a part of another meeting, in the devotional, and that, you know, was from Philippians as well. So, you know, I reached out to our director of sports mission. I was like, you know, what was ironic was that the same message that you spoke to this morning was the same message that was spoken to me yesterday. And it was like, you know, that's a sign to me that's like, man, God's telling you it's something within that message that you need to hear right now and that other people may need to hear. So dive a little bit more into that book, you know, like understand the context of what that message is, and, you know, give that out. And, you know, it's something that, you know, I've spoken to my athletes about. It's just like, although we are experiencing a time of hardship, look at the opportunity that's in it. You know, what joy can come out of this situation, and not from just a football perspective. Like, you know, you're getting to spend more time with your families. You know, the time that you wouldn't have been able to. You know, you're getting to, with, you know, a little bit more time on their plates. Like, you're getting to explore, you know, some things that you may not have had the time to, just given, you know, the circumstances of what college life and college athletics bring. Like, utilize this time to get better at something that, you know, you may have been lacking in. Utilize this time to build and foster, you know, stronger relationships. But, you know, in essence, utilize this time of hardship, you know, to be successful at something, or to continue the pursuit of some dream, you know, so that later on, you know, you'll experience and you'll appreciate going through it because of what came from it.
Yeah, it's that idea of, like you said, it's that frame of reference. How you going to view something? You know, yes, we're in a situation right now that is maybe a little tougher, and it's not what you want to be in, but you can view it from that light of, all hell, this sucks, or, like you said, this is an opportunity. And it's that whole how you want to view things. Do you want to view it as an opportunity, or do you want to view it as a problem? Exactly. And you got two choices, problem or opportunity. One is going to get you nowhere, and one may take you exactly where you want to go, just not the route that you thought you were going to go.
Exactly.
And it's something that we are telling ourselves in the professional world. It's something I tell myself in my personal life. I mean, this is the first time I've been at home for 3 straight weeks with my wife. I can't remember how long it's probably been since that. I mean, I didn't do that when I coached, and I did it now. And it's an opportunity to become closer in a marriage, to become closer in a relationship. You can learn things about your wife. You can learn things about yourself. It's been a very fun opportunity for us as well. Is it easy all the time? No. I mean, there's a lot of times that there's times during the day where it's upsetting. But then at the end of the day, you can lay your head on the pillow a lot of times and go, man, I got a lot of stuff done today that I never would have got done. I learned some stuff today that I never would have learned. And it's all because coronavirus, which
Right.
who'd have thought coronavirus would take us where we're at right now. But yeah, man, we could sit here and talk for hours, and we did this in your office a couple months ago, and I hope I get to do it again with you. I don't want to take up too much time. I know you're an important man, and I know y'all got things to do. But I really appreciate it because I told you when I was in your office, and I'll tell you again, the passion that you have for this industry and the passion you have for kids, that doesn't come around. Like that's not something that we see a lot. And it's truly special. And it was why when we were kicking around the idea of talking to coaches, I was like, man, I want to talk to Corey because just the conversation I had in his office, I want to talk to him, and I want other people to hear Corey's passion. I don't even care if we talk about X's or O's or we talk about – I just want people to hear that. And I genuinely appreciate that you got on here and talked that way about it.
Of course, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate you asking me. And, I'm glad – there's a lot of things that we can talk about. Like, one day if you want to talk about X's and O's, we can talk about X's and O's, But one thing that I've always just, I'm a guy of purpose. And, I've always been one to say, the goal of life is, to find your gift, but the purpose is to give it away. And, right now, this is how I'm living my purpose. You talk about the passion, and that's just me, that's me genuinely being me. And that's what I give to my athletes. Like, am I the smartest coach? No. Am I the best one? Probably not. A lot of people will probably say, whatever about me, but I know that I can give everything of myself, and that's all I can do. And that's what, not only my players that get, but people that I interact with, people that God allows, me to cross paths with, like, you, for example. A couple months ago, like, I didn't know you from anybody else, but you came and you visited. We sat in my office and we talked, and it's like, for you to even want me to get back on and have a discussion just about whatever, says a lot, of you, but also what you thought of me. And, anytime we get on and we have a conversation, like, it's like that passion is going to come out of me because that's all that I know. And that's all I know how to give. That's all I know how to be. And regardless of topic, like, we could talk about a multitude of different topics, but where what you're going to get out of me, in reference to any topic is what I'm passionate about, as it concerns that. So, yeah, Coach, I mean, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to get on and to talk with you. And, like I said, I may not have as much time as a lot of people think we do have during this time, but if I'm ever available, I'd love to get back on again. And I mean, any of those conversations can kind of be steered in whatever direction that you want it to be. But I appreciate the opportunity to get on and talk with you, man, and I'm looking forward to the possibility of doing it again in the future.
I certainly want to do it again, and we'll get it hooked up, but I'll let you get you some work done because I know you got plenty of that to do right about now.
Yeah.
But we'll be in touch soon, Corey. I really appreciate it, man.
All right, Coach. You have a good day, man. Stay blessed and stay safe and healthy.
Thank you. You too.